Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of My Head in the Cloud. Today's a special episode as it's the first unboxing, first review, first everything of my channel. And I made sure to be a special one. Today I'm unboxing and reviewing the Nexus 5, Google's latest flagship phone. I won't waste much time, so let's get right into that unboxing and right to the review. Alright guys, here we go. We got one of my favorite unboxings probably of the year. My Nexus 5 just arrived today, so comes in the same box the Nexus 4 came in last year. Almost exactly perfect to the size. So we open this up. Got the Google Play order summary. Yep, just says there's one in here. And there it is. See the same box style they've been using that they did with the new Nexus 7, the really colorful blue and then the 5 on there. And you can actually see, just like the 7 before where it cut on the edge to make a 7, you can actually see there's a 5 right here on the design through the background. Just got Google, made by LG, some stats about it. And there's all the numbering. All right. There we go. Just a light Google on there. Nothing on the back. Some white tape. Right through the seals. And here we go. There it is. Nexus 5. Right, first thing is it's got this nice soft touch rubber that we've come to expect from seeing it on the Nexus 7. Feels really good. Big Nexus logo. It's almost probably about double the size of the one on the Nexus 4, and even then this one's got the feel to it. Big old camera lens. We got the volume rockers, the micro USB, dual speakers. The SIM slot, as you can see, has actually been moved up here. Now it's below the lock button on the Nexus 4. It was down much lower, and I believe it was on the other side, but they've moved it right up there. Sensors, the speaker, front-facing camera, there's that. And we got one microphone there, headphone multi-jack there, and I know there's a noise-canceling one, but it's not as easy to pick out here. Maybe it's down built into one of the speakers like before, but all right, that's the device itself. And we got a little tab here, lift this up in there, and we have the SIM ejector tool and this little card here. You can see it just tucked in there. A little bit of instructions on how to remove your SIM cards or put new ones in. And we got the normal instructions. Let's see, this one is just how to power up your device, talking about where the NFC is located, the SIM card power button. Fully charge the battery from a power outlet. Same thing, but in different languages. We got the safety and warranty guide. Another safety and warranty guide. Again, other languages. And we just have the power plug itself, the travel adapter, and the micro USB cable. And that is it for the box, nothing else. So nothing unusual there. Very, very similar to the Nexus 4 packaging and the new Nexus 7. And that's about it for the unboxing. So I will play around for this for a while and then do the review of it. All right, guys, here we go. The review of the brand new Nexus 5. Now that I've had it for a few days since that unboxing, I'm going to actually review it. I'm going to focus more on the actual device and the hardware than I will on KitKat. I'll probably do a different video on KitKat after I've had a lot more time to play with all the things they built into this update. Also, I'm going to try to keep this review short. As I said, the Nexus 5 is my favorite device. This will probably be my favorite review. So I'm going to try and break it up into 4 sections so as to keep myself from continually rambling on, because I could probably talk about this phone for, I don't even know how long. So let's start with the first section. I'm going to talk about design. First thing I'd like to talk about on the design aspect is when you grab the device. First thing you feel, or at least I feel, is this back. They went with a nice soft touch back. This soft touch originally showed up on the Nexus 10 we saw it. It did a really nice job of feeling good in the hand, and also you'd be able to hold a device like this without anything. Here, I can just hold it with 2 fingers. Very nice angle it holds. It sticks to your fingers, but not in the way where it would be uncomfortable. You can see it still slides around in my hand without sticking, but at the same time, it can be slick in some ways. So it's a really nice material. It just feels great. It works great. As I said, we originally saw it show up on the Nexus 10. They then brought it back for the second edition of the Nexus 7, or the 2013 edition. They brought back it. Now, the reason I like the soft back is actually because here you can see the Nexus 7, the newest version, and the newest version of the Nexus. You can see they made them look really nice. It's got a big area around the camera, nice carved in Nexus here, vertically on the back of it. So I really like that tie in there to make the devices really seem unified. Anyway, It's enough about the back. Going on now to the sides, I like the bezel. They kind of changed on this one. They have it tilting inward like this, which gives it a nice, your fingers really wrap around it nice, which is a little bit surprising that it feels so good because the Nexus 4, the one right before this, actually had the reverse. You can see that the bezel actually tips. Yeah, you can't get the camera. There we go. It actually tips off like this. This felt great in the hand too. This I like a little bit better because the back, going back to the back is actually a little bit rounded, you can see here. There you go. It's got a nice smooth rounding to it, whereas this one was a flat back, glass flat back. So this one feels good in the hand. This one didn't feel bad, but I like this one. Also, the glass on this one did two things. One, in the hands, it felt good, although it could be, you know, it did get hot pretty quick because the glass would heat up, but it almost stuck too much. You can see here with two fingers, it almost doesn't want to move. And if your hands were ever sweaty or it was humid outside, you really stuck to this. It was hard to get it in and out of your pocket sometimes even. But the other big thing was the Nexus 4 had this lovely tendency when on a table to just want to spin around. It has no problem gliding across my desk here. The soft touch, and more specifically the camera sticking out, prevents the phone from doing that very much. You can see it does not want to move at all here compared to our Nexus 4, which comes flying in. So that's another thing about the back. Now that we've done... oh yeah, going back to the sides, you can see they moved the SIM slot is now here for your SIM cards. On the Nexus 4, it was right here. The buttons. I like these buttons a lot. The Nexus 4, going back to it, had they were good buttons, but you can almost see they almost don't even show up. They barely stick out from the sides in this one. Whereas on this device, you can clearly see them sticking out there. You get a nice lip right here, so you can find them really easy, and they have a really nice response when you press them. You can really feel that click of pressing them. So again, these buttons weren't bad, but I really like the buttons on here. Okay, so that about covers the back, the sides, the buttons. Let's go to the bottom. First thing you'll notice, they flipped the USB port. The original Nexus 7 actually had this flipped port, and I guess they've carried it over now as the 2013 Nexus 7. You can see these ports match. You can see the ports are in the same way here on these for the micro USB. But it's not as common with the Nexus. The Nexus S4G, the Galaxy Nexus, all of them had the port the other way. Not really a big deal at all. It's just that you're going to notice a little bit more when you're first plugging in your Nexus 5. You'll probably be like, oh, why isn't this going in here? Well, you got to flip it. They flip the port. You can also see in the camera here just a little bit. I believe there are two screws in here now inside there, but I'm not really sure on that. Although it does bring up a good point here is they got rid of the torque screws here. To open up the Nexus 4, you would remove those and then suction cup, the screen would come off here. But on the Nexus 5, you can see the seam going along the edge here. You literally just get a pry tool or something in there and you just go all the way around releasing the snaps, and the back comes off pretty easily. So that's just a little bit on the more technical side if you're going to open one of these up. Also, you'll see that the microphone on the Nexus 4 was here and the speaker was there. This caused a problem with the Nexus 4s when it sat flat on the table. It would almost completely kill the volume coming out of the speakers. So if you had it on speakerphone, you had to set your phone like that or something. So just a little thing they did. The Nexus 4 they actually made, if you ordered your model a few months later, they added little bumps here, little ridges or whatever that would keep the phone up just a tiny bit off the ground. That made a huge difference. On the Nexus 5, they completely changed it. They put them on the bottom. Now, some people originally thought that this was dual speakers. In reality, this one is the speaker, and this one is actually a microphone in here. The speaker has improved a little bit. It's not as tinny. It's a little bit better. And just in general, like I said, the fact that it's now there makes a huge difference. You can set your phone like that, play music, anything. It's great. All right, I think that about wraps up the design because we've now covered the front, or the sides, the back thing. The only other thing would be the front. As far as not talking about the actual display itself, you can see they went to a single little tiny round earpiece here. You can see is there you go. That is the earpiece. You've got a rear-facing camera, and you've got proximity and light sensors right here. Other than that, it's all on-screen buttons. You can see the bezels are about the same. And then again, comparing it to the Nexus 4, overall, we've gotten just a tiny bit taller and actually lighter on this version. Again, changing the glass out for the soft plastic probably cut some weight, but this is only 130 grams, a very light device. Feels great. And then one more thing. The screen is actually now Gorilla Glass 3 we've gone up to. The Nexus 4 had Gorilla Glass 2. All right, the next thing I want to talk about would be specs. Now, I'm not going to ramble off all the technical specs to this, as many people already know them or that you don't need to know them. If you want to, I'll post a link in the description. You can go on the Google Play Store. Bottom of the page, you'll get all the specs. Basically, though, this thing is running a Snapdragon 800 processor up to 2.3 gigahertz or 2.27 by some. Which is an extremely fast processor. It just blazes through stuff. It's got 2 gigabytes of onboard RAM. Comes in 2 storage sizes, 16 or 32. I got the 32 variant. And it packs tons of radios. We've got HSPA plus, GSM, I should say, LTE, WCDMA, CDMA, just everything. 2G, 3G, 4G, 4G LTE. Everything's packed in here. We got it all. Other than that, there's a few other specs I could go through. The biggest change, though, in far of technical, would be the display. It is an absolutely gorgeous 1080p display on this device. It's up to 445 pixels per inch. The Nexus 4 had 320 pixels per inch, so we've gone up 125, and it is, I can personally say, it's quite noticeable. I've been watching a lot of Netflix on here, and it just looks great on here to go through videos. As you can see from me doing stuff on here, though, going back to the first thing I mentioned, that Snapdragon, it is just, everything launches extremely quickly. Paul's going to load up some stories here, but it is just fluid. There is no slowing this thing down. I can switch from app to app without any problems. The battery life. The battery life is surprisingly, I don't know how to say it, surprisingly, I was not expecting it to be as good as it is because we've gone up to a more power-hungry display, more pixels per inch. The battery did go up by 200 milliamp hours. It is now a 2,300 milliamp hour battery. But at the same time, you are using a more powerful processor and all that. But still, you can see here I'm at 47% battery. The phone has been on for 19 hours and 56 minutes. I did charge a tiny little bump you can see there, but overall, it's not really been affected. So basically, in almost a day's worth of time, I've barely used half the battery. Now, granted, the screen has actually only been on for an hour and 35 minutes, and the screen is always what uses the most battery. So, but needless to say, the battery life has been what I consider great so far. Anywho, that's about all I really have to say with specs. Like I said, if you really want to know all the details of its exact size, exact dimensions, weight, all that stuff, the link will be posted in the description. One quick little thing I'd like to talk about here in its own little section would be the camera. Now, the Nexuses have often been plagued with what most people consider subpar cameras, with the Nexuses supposing to be the flagship devices showing where Android's headed, what it's supposed to be doing, where it should be at. The Nexus S4G had a 5 megapixel, and then a year later they still had a 5 megapixel on the Nexus, or on the Galaxy Nexus. They went to 8 on the Nexus 4, but it still was not considered that amazing. And now on the Nexus 5, people are still not exactly pleased. Personally, you'll see the rest of my videos this year are going to be recorded on here. I found that 1080p recording on here has less grain and noise than the Nexus 4. In fact, my introduction video to this channel is actually recorded on the Nexus 5. And as far as stills, I really haven't taken a lot in... Well, I just haven't taken a lot at all, so I really don't think I should judge that one yet. But if you really want to see a comparison, a lot of times the Nexus is compared to the iPhone 5S or whatever the current iPhone is, as those are both flagships of their opposing ecosystems. So I obviously don't have an iPhone 5S, but there is this great video I found online, and this guy does a really good comparison between the Nexus 5 and the iPhone 5S. So I'll post the link in the description to that if you really want to see how the camera stacks up. But personally, I've been pretty pleased with it. Okay, so the last thing to talk about is all the little extra features or different things this thing has. It comes with all the standards nowadays with NFC, and it's got the little LED blink light down here and some other stuff. But one of the things I was happy to see is that they really seem to have fixed the wireless charging on this device. I'll show you right now. This is the Nexus 4. Had wireless charging built in. This is a standard Qi. It is actually the Nokia wireless charger. This is my roommate's. He has a Nokia Lumia 928, which is actually what this video is being recorded on. But you'll see when I place the Nexus 4 on here, you can see right here it says charging, and there it goes away. And is it going to come back? Let me move the device a little bit here. There you go. Comes back, and without touching the device at all, goes away, comes back. It just had a problem with other Qi. It's standard Qi, but it did not want to work quite right. Whereas on both the Nexus 7 2013 edition, I've found... Oh, it is charging. There we go. On both the Nexus 7 2013 edition and on, especially like I'm saying here, the Nexus 5, charging works great. You'll see that it says charging 47 and it just stays constant. It's a great little feature. There actually is a new Nexus wireless charger coming out. It's been announced and we've seen one picture of it, but it is not in the Play Store. It was supposed to come out on the same day as this, but just like last year we saw with the original Nexus wireless charger, it may be a while before we see it. Going on to other extras, I guess the only other thing I'd really like to talk about is KitKat. KitKat is the newest version of the Android operating system. It is 4.4. I'm not going to go huge into this because KitKat on its own, I'll probably do a review of it on its own for all the changes it's made, but just going in here, I'll just show you this is the new little animation. As you know, everyone has its thing. So there you go. Android. It's got a KitKat-like look to it. As I said, Android partnered, or Google partnered with KitKat. Ironically, they had it for the Nexus 7, even though the Nexus 7 didn't ship with, nor does it have KitKat yet. KitKat, some of the quick features I'll show you is, one of the big ones is Google Now. They really have been working on this. I love Google Now, as a lot of people do. Now it's just a quick flick to your left. It's right there, ready to go. You've got your cards here. Also, and the biggest thing about the Nexus would be their price point. The 16 gigabyte is only $350 off contract. That is amazing for what you're getting in this price package. In comparison, if you wanted to compare this to other flagship phones like the HTC One or the Galaxy S4, Google also sells those in the Play Store, unlocked, ready to go, with stock Android on them. But as I was saying, for 16 gigabytes on here, you're going to pay $350. For the HTC One, you're going to pay $600, and for the Samsung Galaxy S4, you're going to pay $650. That's just amazing, the difference there. I guess the thing to point out there, though, I should say, is that the HTC One, the $600, is actually the 32 gigabyte variant. But still, this is $400 for 32 gigabytes. You're cutting off about $200 there. So, yeah, great price point. You're getting an amazing amount of power, great display. Okay, one last thing I wanted to do really quickly was just to show off the difference between the Snapdragon 600 and the Snapdragon 800. I just wanted to compare the pure speed of how fast they are. So I'm going to open up the exact same game. It's the Walking Dead Assault. Now, the Nexus 5 actually has nothing else running. I just rebooted it. Nexus 4 has nothing running. Both of them now have no recent apps. So just a quick comparison of, it's not a huge change. It's from about 1.7 to 2.3 gigahertz, but this is what we're going to see here. We'll just tap them both at the same time. Boom. The Nexus 5 is already ready to play, and the Nexus 4 is now ready to play. Another interesting thing about that is I actually have more installed on my Nexus 5 right now than I do on my Nexus 4. I've almost completely cleared out my Nexus 4 back to stock apps, and my Nexus 5 I now have quite a few games and other apps on there. So you can see that little upgrade in the processor actually has made a huge difference, and the Snapdragon 800 is absolutely blazing in the new Nexus 5.